watching First Stick here on News 9, where we bring to you the morning buzz in the last 3 times. Yash Maheshwari, and with me in the studio as always is Amit Ranjan. It's a Thursday morning and the Indian markets, they are back in the green, and we have witnessed a very strong start to the day of trading as Nifty has opened above 22,300 mark. Now this is key, and if you have been following our coverage here on News 9, you'd know that 22,300 is where what we pointed out could be the litmus test for Nifty, because there are multiple key moving averages, the 20-day moving average, the 50-day, the 40-day exponential moving average, as well as a 50% retracement level of this entire fall, all lie in and around that area of plus minus 20 points of that 22,300 mark. So we have opened above that area, but again the key is sustenance. Can we sustain above it? Now there are multiple reasons at play, and that is why we have seen a strong opening. We'll get to that in just a bit, but before we do that, let's also look at what could happen, because today is also the weekly FNO expiry, so expect volatility to remain high. And if 22,300 is not maintained, I mean, you would want to perhaps look at it as a trend confirmation. If 22,000, we are able to close about 22,300, that could confirm the uptrend from here on. But if you do fall below that, it could indicate some bit of consolidation going forward, which is not bad if you look at the kind of choppiness we have seen in the markets in the last couple of trades. But let's get to the big reason why Indian markets have opened about a 0.5% higher, and it's global factors. Amit, all in all, a very positive session for the Wall Street at record high levels. What's the buzz?
S&P 500 at record, Nasdaq 100 at record. Year-on-year US core inflation was the slowest in 3 years. The annual rate of headline price growth fell to 3.4% from 3.5% as expected. The core rate declined 3.6% from 3.888%. Advanced retail sales were flat last month, while core retail sales, which strip out auto and gas, fell by 0.1% in the last 1 month. Retail sales were very strong in February and March, so the pullback was expected. Dow Jones closed in the positive at 0.88%, S&P 500 1.17% up at close, Nasdaq Composite 1.40% up at close, Stock 600 0.59% up at close. Hang Seng this morning is up 1.57%. Even Nifty this morning is up 0.86%. So it's a sea of green everywhere.
A sea of green everywhere. I mean, and as Amit pointed out, retail inflation in the US came in marginally lower than expectations. So what's the big buzz, right? I mean, it came in marginally lower. The street was already expecting that 0.3% rise. It came in at 0.09% increase month on month. I think the bigger factor why the market rallied was a weak retail sales data that also came in for the month of April, because remember, I mean, it sounds rather counterintuitive. Why is market liking a weak economic data? But as we know, the situation and the times that we are in, I mean, if the economy continues to remain hot, it would lead to inflationary pressures, and perhaps the Fed could not cut interest rates, because that would further fuel inflation. So it's rather counterintuitive, where you are looking at as bad news, as good news being bad news, good news for the markets, good news for the economy being bad news for the markets. But that's the times that we are living in. But the combination of this retail inflation coming in line with expectation, as well as retail sales being weak, I think that was interpreted by the market as dovish, and that is why we saw this tremendous rally in the US markets. Again, S&P 500 scaled 5,300 levels for the very first time. Nasdaq is also at record high. But the other cues, I mean, overall the 10-year US yields, they have slipped by 9 basis points, and now they are at a multi-week low of about 4.35%. And your dollar index has also slipped below the 105 mark. In fact, we had been pretty much yo-yoing in that range of 105 to 106. We have slipped below. It's closer to 104 now than it was to 105 levels. Crude is pretty much at around that $83 a barrel mark, and again we have been moving in that very tight range of about $1 per barrel on Brent crude. So nothing major movement or significant as far as crude prices are concerned, but overall the setup is very healthy, and that is why we are seeing a result of it has also meant that Indian markets have hold significantly higher. But again, the key is, can we sustain above 22,300? And to answer that, let's also bring on board Mr. Brijesh Ayal of IDBI Capital Markets. Brijesh, thank you for joining us here on News 9. And again, 22,300 was what we were looking at as a key litmus test for Nifty, so to say, because multiple moving averages are there. Now the opening was above it, but we have since slipped below it. Is this also the area where you're looking, could perhaps be the next trend setter of sorts for the index? What's your overall assessment of the market at this point in time, sir?
Yeah, morning, Suresh. So yeah, as you rightly said, 22,300 is the immediate hurdle. And today, in the morning trade, it looked like it was going to sustain about that trade. But then I think in the early start, the market was seen in a gap up opening, and now it has filled that particular. So my sense is it would be more of a range bound kind of a market for today's session, 22,200 and 22,300. This is the immediate range, maybe for today, tomorrow. And today being the weekly expiry, right now the data is negative. There is a sell-off which is being seen at 22,300. But having said this, maybe in the second half, if we see some recovery and the market doesn't break 22,200, then it starts moving about 22,300, then there is a likely chances that we'll see a short covering about 22,300 and maybe another 200, 300 odd points on the higher side, maybe during the next week, which we can see higher. So today, the market is moving up. So 22,300 would be the immediate resistance, but somewhere looking at the daily time frame, I believe this level might get broken. The only concern remains is for the Bank Nifty. Bank Nifty is yet to scale above 48,000 levels. So that is a major resistance which is not guaranteeing Nifty to make the new high. So, but then Nifty, there is a today being expiry. Right now, the daily chart is positive. If 22,200 doesn't break, then I think then some positive momentum can be there in the market, and maybe in the second half the things will be more clear.
Good morning, Brijesh. Now, Mahindra and Mahindra are expected to announce their quarterly results today. Their analysts expect the revenues to go up 7% to 24,182 lakhs year on year. Net profits are expected to rise about 5%, 4.7% to 2,026. Their sales volumes have gone up 2.9% this quarter to 2,86,924 units. Tractor sales year on year this quarter have slipped 20% and quarter on quarter 30%. The stock is on an all-time high. What do you make of Mahindra and Mahindra?
So the auto is one pack which is moving up, and obviously Mahindra is something which is contributing to the rally. And there is no negative bias. If you look at the way there was a recovery in monthly charts from the level of 1800, from 1800 to 2300, so quite a good sharp up move. There can be a slightly profit booking only because of the overbought nature in the daily time frame. But directionally, I believe this is quite a good trade setup. And eventually, if the Nifty and index has to gear up, auto is one sector which we are extremely bullish. For example, M&M, we are liking. Maruti is something which is positive. And in the recent correction, whatever we saw, Tata Motors have come to the support level. So overall, the sector, auto as a sector, I believe this is a quite strong positive bias. And Mahindra, slight profit booking can be there to the levels of 100, 150 odd points, but then directionally the view is positive. So correction should be viewed to the long or to add long positions, and somebody to already having a long position should ride the momentum.
Alright, corrections could happen, and it could be used to build on long positions. The results will come out today, and Mahindra is in fact one of the last Nifty50 companies to report their Q4 numbers. But another company that did report their Q4 numbers yesterday was Berger Paints, and Berger Paints reported a very healthy set of numbers for the March quarter, as net profit surged about 20%, boosted by all business lines delivering strong double-digit volume growth. Now the stock is trading about 0.5% higher this this morning. It has slipped below its intraday high, but again it's been under significant pressure in the last 6 to 12 months. In fact, if you look at it on the price charts, Berger is one of the worst performers, if not the worst performer in among all its listed peers across multiple time charts. And it's not like other paint companies are doing well either, but now with a healthy result and also expectations that rural demand is going to pick up, and as we know, Berger has significant exposure in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Brijesh, sir, do you expect this stock to make a comeback, and is this a stock to perhaps add in the portfolio, maybe for the short term if not long?
Suresh, I believe more than a short term, I think I would prefer to go for a long term bet, because the reason is 450 is the level which is the multiple demand zone for the monthly time frame, and I think 485 right now, whatever the price it is, 485. So the risk reward ratio is favorable at this point. So I think somebody wants to take a long term bet. 450 would be the precise stop loss. So it looks reasonable to make an entry, and even a trading bet can be, because the way it has fallen so heavily in the last 1 month. Even a small trading bounce can take it back to 580 levels. So there is also a trading opportunity and also a positional bet. Positional bet can be taken only with a stop loss of 450, and trading bet can be immediately taken with a 10-point risk. I think one can take the long bets. The reason why I'm taking this bet is only because the risk reward ratio is quite favorable, and it looks like it's already fallen quite a bit, and there can be a demand zone, and we can see some bounce plus the short term to medium term bounce can be seen this particular counter. So we should be positive.
So trading opportunity on Berger Paints. But Brijesh, before we let you go, what are your picks for our investors today?
Yes, so I have mainly three picks. The one is the BSC. So yesterday there was quite a good volume breakout in this particular stock. So I believe this momentum will continue in BSC. So we will be buying it current price with the stop loss of 2750, and the price target would be 3050. This is again a 7-8% kind of a bet. We should go for the 3-4 trading session. One more is the Vericon Engineering at 547. It looks quite positive, and with the stop loss of 513, I think we can take a long bet for 575. And lastly, the Vector 4. So again, there is a good amount of volume which was seen in yesterday's session. One should go along at the current price with the stop loss of 1245 for the target of 1350.
Nifty has now corrected by close to 100 points. We are closer to 22,200 now than we were to pretty much 22,300 levels. The numbers that are reflecting on your screen are as of 9:30 a.m. this morning. Look at how fast and how choppy the markets are and the way that they are moving. Again, today is the weekly FNO expiry day, and the opening that we spoke about, was on the back of a very strong handover from the global markets. The retail inflation data was, pretty much in line with expectation in the US, and the retail, consumer data also, came much below expectation, and that was perhaps a trigger that the market opened much higher. But again, sustenance has been the problem, and sustenance above that 22,300 mark is the key. But again, looking at the market right now, Nifty is up about 0.2%. It's hovering just around the 22,250 mark. Sensex is also trading marginally higher as well. The mid cap and the small cap space, I mean, they continue to stage very good recovery, and that has also helped, improve the overall breadth of the market. Remember, in the last 2-3 sessions, we have been talking about how in each session, the ball is moving more and more in the favor of the bulls, because remember, in this correction that we saw, the advanced decline ratio was at about 1:5, 1:6, 1:7 in certain cases, but now it's leaning in favor of bull, to the point that 3 stocks are rising for 2 that are falling, and that's good news for our market. From here on, I think more than a rally, one could expect slight bit of consolidation, but with that, let's take a short commercial break. On the other side, Mohit Gang, co-founder and CEO of Moneyfront, joins us.
वो पूछते हैं कि हम कौन है गालिब, तुम बतलाओ कि हम बतलाएं क्या।
I told him, you do what you think is best, I will not insist. This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
How do you fulfill that promise? Because ultimately expectations have to be met. If you look at the political landscape, is it really changing for women? And what is the inability of the forces that dead bodies surface but not the living people?
जानना है तो देखिए, समझना है तो सुनिए, सीखना है तो पूछिए और कमाना है तो खरीदिए। जानकारी, सलाह और निवेश सब एक ही सुपर ऐप पर। पैसे का सवाल है तो जवाब है मनी 9। आजादी पैसे की। अभी डाउनलोड करें।
Has Allu Arjun arrived or he's just taking off?
If I really want to hit a moonshot, I want the moon.
These are big stories.
It's very unique to Indian cinema.
What would be the relevance of tradition?
I would believe that the first change has to come in the mind.
World premiere on the 18th of May only on News 9 Live at 9 p.m.
That ink is a semi-permanent dye called the indelible ink.
We are the sole manufacturer of this indelible ink.
Don't try to repair something which is working.
And if you have facial recognition, you can go vote in any booth anywhere based on where you are, and then it will be recorded that you can't vote anywhere else again.
Can we retire indelible ink and use biometrics? Theoretically, my answer would be yes.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
America, there is an inheritance tax. In India, you don't have that.
कांग्रेस की लूट जिंदगी के साथ भी और जिंदगी के बाद भी.
Our manifesto combines ideology with effective administration, with delivery that is long overdue.
Rahul Gandhi is talking about redistribution of wealth. You know, these are the things people are alert to. They want to know, what does Congress say when you say redistribute wealth?
Welcome back. You're watching First Stick here on News 9, and before we slipped into the break, we were talking about how the markets, they have slipped off their intraday high and below the 22,300 mark. More importantly, we have seen some bit of resurgence from there on, and Nifty is back near that 22,250 mark, right between that 22,200 range and 22,300 mark, which Brijesh had indicated for us. Sensex is also up about a 0.25% at 73,178. The mid cap and the small cap indices are up around 0.5%. The mid cap is index has in fact taken out 51,000 levels, and the small cap index is trading above 16,500 mark. India VIX has picked up once again, and it's back above that 20 levels as well. But again, the times are volatile. We are in the midst of the earnings season. The elections are going on, and there are multiple binary events in the offing as well. So it becomes very difficult to gauge what the market is feeling right now, but we have a very special guest joining us who will share his views on the market and let us know what he thinks of the market right now. Mr. Mohit Gang, co-founder and CEO of Moneyfront. Sir, thank you for joining us here on News 9. And in the last couple of weeks, we have sort of witnessed decoupling from global markets, and the focus overall has shifted to Lok Sabha elections. My question to you is what happens if there is a major surprise on the counting day, both on the positive and the negative side? Let's say in scenario 1, NDA's final tally crosses 400 mark, which the market was, by the way, factoring in back in December, during after the 2023 state elections. Or scenario 2, the tally is much below expectations, under or around that 300 mark. What sort of a percentage impact can we see in each of these events?
All right. Thank you so much, Suresh. Always a pleasure to be on your show. Look, I think both the scenarios, honestly, for the market, seem a little improbable as of now. I think one is tally crossing over the 400 mark kind of a thing, though I'm not a political expert. Let me just disclaim it out on the show. And obviously, no one knows what the final outcome will be. But if the NDA tally at all crosses the 400 mark, I think there'll be one kind of a feat, and market will take it extremely buoyantly, right? Because I think, look, from a market's perspective, markets like stability, markets like continuity of policies, markets don't like any surprises. And typically what happens is around the election time, if you are not sure who is forming the next government, then markets are in a tizzy about the next policy move, right? What will be the policy like? Will the India manufacturing push continue? Will the India plus one narrative continue? Will the policy rates, to some extent, the government does influence the central bank's outcomes also, and the host of taxation things and everything, they all go into a tizzy, right? And when you have a bit of a certainty that yes, there will be a stable government ahead. Stability means on two counts. Number one, the party who was ruling or who was running the government continues to run, and second is the numbers are such that they are not hindered through the process of next 5 years, right? So on both these counts, if you have some amount of certainty, which I think markets are now sniffing basically, and which is when the markets have also started picking up a little, though markets might continue to be a little sideways for next 10-15 days, because till the final outcome is out, you never know which way the tide swings. But my sense is, on both the extremes, it seems a little improbable, but if any extreme happens, if let's say the number falls below the 300 mark, then also it will be a great surprise for the market, and my sense is markets might not react very kindly to it.
Markets might not react very kindly if the number does fall below the 300 mark, but I think looking at it, improbable figure could only perhaps move the market, because the markets have sort of recalibrated, and as a expectation of the majority has gotten thinner and thinner the course of last 4-5 months, from the state election victory to now. But election aside, we are also in the midst of the fourth quarter earnings season, and one theme particularly that stood out for me in Q4 was that rural demand, or at least companies that are focused on rural India, they have reported very strong numbers, and they have also in their management commentary said that they are seeing some green shoots of recovery in the rural sector. In fact, rural India has in the previous quarter outperformed urban consumption as well. I mean, because we know that rural India, rural demand, rural consumption had been a pain point for us, and that is on the mend now. Is this a focus area, or is this could be the focus area for the next 12-6 months? Because the stocks pretty much have done nothing. They have been underperformers, and also the expectation is that the monsoon is going to be normal this time around as well. Mohit, your take.
All right. So look, I think, Suresh, there have been two parts which I've been voicing out on your shows previously also. One is rural demand and second is private capex. My sense is both these cycles are long overdue and will pick up in the country in the coming 6 months to a year kind of a period. Because we are talking of the rural demand, I think there are a number of factors which are boosting it. Obviously, the indicators are very sharp from the ground. The two-wheeler sales are hitting record highs, which is a very good indicator of rural demand. The tractor sales have not yet picked up so much, but my sense is it should pick up. Around the election time, the amount estimated to be spent in the economy is to the tune of almost 1 lakh crores, right? And that in itself will boost a lot of demand on the ground. I was other day reading a report from SBI, and it mentioned a very interesting fact, which says that a lot of this rural demand, because of better connectivity, better highways, better roads, is also migrating to the urban areas because the rural people are now traveling to nearby towns and areas, and the demand is migrating out there. So that could also be a factor when we assess the rural demand. Having said which, my sense is a good monsoon, which is the prediction this year, some amount of private capex picking up, and overall the green shoots from both the FMCG companies also. Even in the FMCG pack, if we see, the rural demand is almost coming back to the pre-COVID levels now. So my sense is all this combined should give a real boost to the rural economy in coming 3 to 6 months.
Good morning, Mohit. Now, Finance Minister Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman expressed her concern with the growing F&O trading in India. Now, NSE constituted 75% of F&O trades in 2024. It was only 12% back in 2014. Compared to global F&O trades, NSE constituted 85%, up from 67%. What is the real concern according to you? Is it household savings that get depleted because of this? What is the real concern, and why is the finance minister worried?
Amit, I think, look, I would not be the right person to voice out what the real concern out here is. But to my sense, F&O is all good till such time that it is done methodically in a systemic manner for hedging purposes, and right, and that's the worldwide usage. And these volumes will pick up as India becomes a better economy. As you see, look, how many demat accounts holders do we have? 15 crore, right? In a population of almost 150 odd crores. So this number is going to go surge many times more, and we have to be prepared as a country to handle that number. Perhaps the regulatory framework has to be more strengthened around it, and you have to kind of curb some malpractices around it. My issue and worry is only on two counts. Number one, the number of young Indian population who's taking it up as a fad or taking it up as a vocation and thinking that perhaps this is one easy money on the table and not wanting to go into formal jobs. Look, I've done many college sessions and I teach in few colleges also. And when I go there, I kind of get this undercurrent that people don't want to work any longer. They just want to be stock traders, right? And they don't realize the downside of it because they haven't seen a meaningful downside in last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, perhaps, right? So my sense is some healthy market corrections perhaps might ease off this froth a little, and young India has to be educated and trained enough to understand the risks associated with both futures and options, because these are highly risky instruments, could be perhaps weapons of mass destruction, as we all know, if not handled very carefully, right? So that's my only worry, but I think the volumes will keep surging. Amit, you and I can do very little about it.
All right, volumes will keep surging for the F&O segment, but it's very counterintuitive to know that, whereas your regulators and the FM is concerned and they are, kind of raising red flags about trading in F&O segment. NSE, on the other hand, has lowered the ticket size of Nifty contracts from 50 to 25 now. But it's time to take a short break. But Mohit, please stay with us. We have plenty more to discuss with you on the other side.
America, there is an inheritance tax. In India, you don't have that.
कांग्रेस की लूट जिंदगी के साथ भी और जिंदगी के बाद भी.
Our manifesto combines ideology with effective administration, with delivery that is long overdue.
Rahul Gandhi is talking about redistribution of wealth. These are the things people are alert to. They want to know, what does Congress say when you say redistribute wealth?
Has Allu Arjun arrived, or he's just taking off?
If I really want to hit a moon shot, I want the moon.
These are big stories.
It's very unique to Indian cinema.
What would be the relevance of tradition?
I would believe that the first change has to come in the mind.
World premiere on the 18th of May, only on News 9 Live at 9 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching First Stick here on News 9, and let's look at the market levels because Nifty is holding around that 22,250 mark. The broader markets, they continue to outperform both mid cap and the small cap indices. Now they are on a 5-day winning run, and both indices are trading with gains of over half a percent. Nifty mid cap 100 is just trading above the 51,000 mark, whereas the small cap index has taken out 16,500 level. Volatility remains a concern. It is elevated at 20.46, up 0.93% this morning. Remember just a couple of days back it slipped from that 20 mark, but again we are in the times of elections and the volatility is going to be high. But Mohit, I'll come back to you. Another, one of the reasons that we are seeing this market correction, or at least we saw it in the last couple of weeks, was incessant FII selling. They have been pretty much net sellers in all of May, pulling out close to $3 billion from the Indian market. But DIIs on the other hand has pretty much offsetted all that all that exodus of foreign moolah, so to say. What's giving the domestic institutional investors this confidence, and where do you see this pullout from? What do you think is the reason of this pullout from FII, sir?
Look, I think the FII money, any which ways, is a very, very smart pot of money, in the sense that they have too many options available at hand, and they will always weigh the pros and cons of even a single basis point kind of a differential, which is easily available to them, right? There is no second guessing that Indian markets are expensive today, and to find real good bargain, deal or value picks is extremely difficult in the Indian market. Absolutely, there's nothing which is available cheap in the Indian markets today. Right. So for an FII investor, if he has some global options available, if the US 10-year yields are elevated as they are today, right, and some of the other markets are looking extremely attractive, then I think it's a matter of where do they think there is more value on the table. And perhaps to my mind, that's the single biggest reason why FIIs have been a little cautious in putting money into Indian markets. Honestly, I don't think so it is to do too much with the election outcome. Perhaps some portion of it plays very heavily on the FII minds. In certain categories, in certain segments, yes, that's true. But I don't think so. That's the single biggest reason for the FII not entering the markets as strongly as the domestic guys are entering. Look, domestic story, as I told you, is a secular story with 15 crore demat accounts and some 4 crore unique investors in mutual funds. I think the story is only just about beginning in India in terms of how the Indians or the retail India is getting into the financial markets. So that story will continue to remain very strong. 20,000 crore of SIP flow a month is massive, Suyash. Honestly, $2.5 billion a month, roughly $30 billion a year, only out of SIP money. It's too huge a pot to be taken lightly on. So my sense is the domestic flows will continue to remain strong, in fact get stronger by the day. And if you see over the last few years, the pattern of money, the FII importance in Indian markets have only been decreasing. And that's a good sign for any domestic market. Getting more self-reliant and believe in India is the new theme.
All right. I mean, this FII exodus could be just a tactical shift and perhaps doesn't have much to do with the elections. Whereas DIIs, they have, indicated their strong belief in the inherent strength of Indian economy and Indian markets, and they have been consistent buyers whenever FIIs have sold off. But, Mohit, before we let you go, you are a registered investment advisor, and I'm sure you get asked this all the time. The markets have corrected. What to buy now, sir?
Look, I'm more of a mutual fund guy than a stock guy, but my sense is I think on the stock front, the banking space looks extremely attractive. If you're betting on Indian economy, you have to bet on the banking space, in both the PSU banking space, the heavyweight banking PSU banking space, and the top private banking space. I think out there perhaps only two names, maybe ICICI and Axis, look attractive as of now. But that's the space to watch out for, looking extremely attractive. And honestly, on the mutual fund side, I would still say that go into the cocoon of large cap, perhaps a Nifty50 index fund or a Nifty Next 50 index fund is right now one of the best choices to make.
All right, those are the sectoral bets from Mohit. Sir, thank you for giving us time here on News 9. Always great insights from you.
Thank you.
But before we wrap things up, let's look at how the market is doing, because we are still hovering in that range of about 22,200 on the low side and 22,300 on the upper band, and we are closer to 22,200 mark right now. Nifty is up about 0.1% at 22,227. Sensex is up 0.16%, and this is as of 10 a.m. this morning at 73,108 mark. The mid cap in the small cap space continues to outperform, and both indices are trading with gains of about 0.5%. The mid cap index is holding just above the 51,000 mark, whereas the small cap index is around that 16,500 level. In fact, it's over that. And this sort of rally in the broader markets, or recovery in the broader markets that we have seen play out in the last 4-5 sessions has improved the overall breadth of the market as well. Remember, in this correction, this is a 1,000 point correction we saw from May 3 to just a couple of days ago, where Nifty corrected about 1,000 points. The entire market pretty much fell in tandem, and the breadth was also heavily in favor of the bears. Remember, at the peak when the sentiment was at its lowest, the advanced decline ratio, which measures how many stocks are rising compared to how many stocks are falling, was at 1:5, meaning one stock was rising for every 5 stocks that were falling. Currently, in the last 3 days, where Nifty has staged a recovery of close to 400 points, the advanced decline ratio is pretty much sitting at 3:1. But I'm made to believe Arvind Kejriwal has reached Lucknow for a joint press conference with Samajwadi Party Chief Akhilesh Yadav. Chief Minister and AAP National Convener Arvind Kejriwal will be in Lucknow today. There he will address a press conference with SP Chief Akhilesh Yadav. Both parties are constituents of the opposition India bloc.
सभी पत्रकार बंधुओं को नमस्कार। आज इंडिया गठबंधन की संयुक्त प्रेस वार्ता में दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री माननीय अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, समाजवादी पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष माननीय अखिलेश यादव जी अपनी बात रखेंगे। दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री केजरीवाल जी इंडिया गठबंधन के लिए उत्तर प्रदेश में जनता से अपील करने के लिए आए हैं, वोट मांगने के लिए आए हैं। मैं उनसे अनुरोध करूंगा विनम्रता पूर्वक कि वो अपनी बात रखें।
आज यहाँ आए हुए सभी पत्रकार बंधुओं को और जितने दर्शक ये देख रहे हैं उन सबको मेरा नमस्कार, मेरा प्रणाम। आज लखनऊ में मैं उत्तर प्रदेश के सभी मतदाताओं से इंडिया गठबंधन को भारी भरकम वोट देने के लिए, भारी मात्रा में वोट देने के लिए अपील करने के लिए आया हूँ। मैं 4 बातें रखना चाहता हूँ। पहले चारों बिंदु बता देता हूँ, फिर उसको डिटेल में एक्सप्लेन करूँगा। पहला ये कि ये चुनाव भारतीय जनता पार्टी मोदी जी अपने लिए वोट नहीं, अमित शाह जी को प्रधानमंत्री बनाने के लिए वोट मांग रहे हैं। दूसरी बात, योगी आदित्यनाथ जी को अगर ये लोग जीत गए